Stubs.
Hey, welcome to Stubs with Jason, where I review all kinds of things on all kinds of screens. This episode is part 2 of a series I'm calling Sleeper Cell Santa Flicks. That's right, these movies are meant to infiltrate the Christmas movie rotation and give you some relief. When your family asks, why did we watch this instead of Elf for the 50th time? You can say, well, don't you remember there was that part with the Christmas thing? And they'll totally buy it because they are all just a bunch of suckers looking at their phones half the time while you're the only one actually sitting and paying attention to the movie. So, nice. That got them. So, let's get to it. Episode 2 of Sleeper Cell Santa Flicks is Long Kiss Goodnight.
Terrible.
All right, so Trent, we're going to move over. I'm going to let you kick off your pick.
So, the first one, because I guess I was selfish and chose 2. And you guys just chose the one. But originally, my first choice was, I guess, a little too much on the nose with the Christmas theming. Even though if you would have just said the name alone and just went in without looking at anything, it probably would have fit, but it's fine.
He was like, why'd you go looking for things? I'm like, dude, I literally pulled it up on Voodoo, and it punches you in the face with it.
Well,
anyway.
I didn't realize that it had a subtitle
Santa's
that had
on the
Christmas
cover.
in it. It's literally, didn't realize that.
All right, let's go to your movie.
The other one, which is The Long Kiss Goodnight. It is a action comedy, I guess you could say, that's got Gina Davis and Samuel Jackson in it. This is one of those weird ones. It was in 96. I thought it was later than that, actually. But it's one of those weird ones where it's like action movie that just happened to come out that was just like filling in. I'm trying to remember what else came out around this era. So 96. It doesn't matter. So, but it's a Shane Black film. Well, it's written by Shane Black. I thought it was originally directed by him, but I double-checked it, and it's actually not, just written by him. But he usually themes his movies around Christmas, and it's always somewhat ingrained into the plot somewhat. Not all the time, but it is usually focused on somewhere. Because he wrote Monster Squad. I don't know if
Shane
we
Black
brought that up.
Predators,
Shane Black.
Shane Black.
He acted in that movie, but he also helped with the script on that.
Gotcha.
He doesn't have it. I don't know if it's like a full-on credit, but he did help on it.
Okay. Yeah, he's done that with other movies too.
Yeah, but his directorial debut was after this. I'm trying to remember what it was. I'm gonna have to bring it up here real quick because I don't remember. He wrote on Lethal Weapon, both Lethal Weapons, not so much the other ones. His first directorial debut was in 2005, so it was after this. That was Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. That has that has Downey in it.
Okay.
And then he would have done Iron Man 3, The Nice Guys. That's I've never seen, which is Ryan Gosling.
He did Iron Man 3, and I've watched Nice Guys.
And
Seen that.
It's got Ryan Gosling and fighting Russell Crowe.
Oh yeah,
it does. This is Russell Crowe.
Glad
I always
I
thought
missed
it looked cool, but I just haven't gotten around to
It's
watching
just
it. And then the
fine.
other one that stuck out to me, which I was like, I had no idea that he would have had involvement in this, is Last Action Hero.
Yeah.
I don't remember if that has any Christmas stuff in it, but I want to say no.
I don't think it does.
Yeah. But if it is, it's probably very minute. But anyways, so it's a story about, it's an amnesiac. Gina Davis loses her memory. She has a whole family sub-story where she's kind of made a new life for herself, even though she's gotten amnesia. Then she hires Samuel Jackson as one of many in a long line of private detectives to try and help her find out who she used to be. And when he comes across some evidence that finally jogs her memory a little bit, she starts to realize that she may or may not have had assassin ties or like some kind of ties to killing for a profession of some.
She's got a complicated past.
She's a complicated past. And then it kind of spins off from that to where you find out there's this whole government organization that used to employ her and these marked targets that she didn't get to take out at during her previous life that led her to losing her memory and stuff. She's got a daughter who she had in she was pregnant after she lost her memory, so she doesn't remember who the father is, and she's raised for, I think she's like 6. I think it's like 6 years.
This is a lot.
Like that.
Yeah.
But anyways, it's fun. I thought it was fun. It's way more action-packed than I remember.
This was your first time watching it?
No, this is like, I've caught like the tail end of it like 2 or 3 times now, but I don't remember the beginning at all.
You first time? This was my first time watching it. I had never
First
seen
time.
it before.
So I guess my gauge is, did you guys like it?
I did not.
Really? Okay. All right.
I almost to the point I found it offensive.
There's a lot of offensive stuff that's in this. Do you think, because the major thing that I always thought was weird when I knew about it was, do you think Gina Davis fits the the badass girl kind of?
I've got a
this
lot
can
to
of worms.
say about this.
Okay, well, really quick.
I
thought it was fine and fun. I thought
it's fun. It's still fun.
It's a 90s. It's like, it is very much a 90s movie. And
it is very 90s.
Very 90s, right?
I think it stopped being fun, though. If they wouldn't have taken it so seriously and been more tongue-in-cheek with it, I would have had more fun with it.
Fire away, because I get you. I get you.
You know what I mean?
Is it the government stuff? Is that where it's a little too more serious?
Samuel L. Jackson playing a gross,
I think he's
leading
against
man.
Type. I think he's against type.
Dude, if he takes his shirt off in a movie, I'm out. What was that about? Why? Were they trying to? Okay, this is Pulp. This is post Pulp Fiction.
Because Pulp Fiction would have been 95.
And his stock is high as it's gonna get, right? Why were they I have so many questions. Were they trying to make him like a leading man? Like that scene where he took his shirt off and he was like, "Hey, baby," in the doorway. I was just like, what is happening?
That's a Shane Black thing. I think he's trying to be more comedic than he needs to be. Or it's
it comedic, though?
I think that it was supposed to come across as funny. Because
I wasn't laughing.
It's awkward. Like some of the dialogue and stuff that Sam Jackson has, and he's got like a tick, like with the like that's.
Oh my god.
That's sort of like he says it's supposed to help him like remember things or something, but I don't know if that's just how he's a cop, but he used to be a cop. But he's not a good guy because he did bad things on purpose.
Right.
Yeah.
But he's kind of
I like that. You think he's telling you the story where he had some injustice and he was
sure.
like, "No, I'm a bad dude," right? Like I was just shady cop, right?
Although I liked
that.
I like the change, the reversal though, because he's supposed to be, you're like you would assume Sam Jackson is going to be the tough as nails kind of guy, and he is at the beginning. But as soon as he gets usurped by Gina Davis, once the switch is flipped and she goes full blown assassin, and then he like kind of gets a little more diminutive and has to be rescued and stuff. And I mean, he comes out at the end, but like I just thought that was funny because like she's coming on to him and he's like hesitant and like doesn't know what to do.
Sure.
And I'm like, this is awkward, but it's kind of funny. Like, who would have thought Sam Jackson would do this?
I think at that point in the movie, I had checked out so much. I was paying attention to other things, soundtrack, like.
Oh, I don't like the soundtrack.
So the soundtrack bothered me because they were trying to do that Pulp Fiction thing where they were taking those mid '70s, early '70s, Quentin Tarantino kind of. Songs and throwing him into the mix. It was so on the nose.
I don't remember
really
those specifically in it. I was more
soundtrack's a big deal for me.
The actual score I thought was super generic and it's just normal action score.
I don't even remember anything, but the song choices just. I guess if you didn't grow up in that era where you saw Pulp Fiction in the theater, it's not gonna bother you, right? But if you're coming from seeing Pulp Fiction and the effect it had on society, especially in the mid '90s. Every movie was trying to be Pulp Fiction, and this movie was in the same boat. Like, for me, it just felt like it was a direct response. Like, they were trying to ape the soundtrack. Some of the language felt the same.
Well, again, I think that's Shane Black, how his writing style, because it comes up in some of his other stuff where it's a real person would never say this. I don't think.
Yeah, right.
But
and that's definitely
Tarantino's like that too.
So much so that it almost gets to the point where you're just like, what am I watching
like
here?
Some of those one-liners that Jackson and even Gina Davis says a couple of times is just like,
people would never talk like that. No person would ever logically speak like that.
He does a joke at one point. Or what?
And Tarantino does the same thing, and I get it, but it works in his movies, because you're dealing with someone who can direct as opposed to Shane Black.
Well, he
There's a
just wrote
difference
it.
there.
He didn't direct this.
Okay.
Which is actually directing like action set piece and stuff. It is a better movie than even Shane Black's movies, I think.
Okay.
Because his movies are.
I think I keep getting Shane Black mixed up with Brett Ratner.
It wouldn't be
Brett
hard.
Ratner, you remember
It wouldn't be hard.
Yeah.
I bet.
Oof.
He did Charlie's Angels.
Feels like they occupy a similar space.
Sure, yeah.
It could be. He does.
I haven't
kinda,
heard any bad stories. Shane Black hasn't been canceled as far as I know.
Well, Brett Ratner's gone,
Brett
right?
Ratner's
He's out
obviously
of the,
been-
he's out of the industry.
I'd say that
Canceled,
both
right?
those guys are like Michael Bay light. Like
Sure.
they are
Yeah,
trying to do machismo, but
That's
not
a good observation.
as
I would
like
agree.
an elevated view. So,
Yes.
do you got stuff you haven't said?
I do, but
Go, no, you. I need to go last.
Well, go. No, get it out.
Okay. Well, I want to talk about. This may take us on a tangent. Is my point.
oh, okay. Well, then we'll come
You
back.
go
to you then.
first.
Do you want to go? Or you want
No,
me to
I got
go?
a bunch of stuff, and
All
they're
right.
just small things.
Yeah, I don't have. So okay, so if it was made today, it'd be a lot darker. There'd be so much more.
Yes.
I don't think so.
There'd
I
be a
don't
lot
think you can
more-
make this again.
Well, I'm not saying they. Well, they could make it again, man. Like, it's,
Well, I mean, Charlize Theron did a movie like this.
yeah, right. Where
I
it's just
mean,
like
these
all
are
right,
generic.
So,
As an assassin type of
Yeah.
thing.
No,
yeah,
yeah.
this is assassin story
Angelina
time.
Jolie
Yes.
did a movie
Yeah.
like
But
this.
I'm more, I guess, I don't think that they could do it again, in particular with like how she's being treated as a professional, but as like a woman in that kind of field. Because like they're being really bad to her. I don't think you could get away with
nah,
that
they
now.
do that.
Ah,
They
And
still
then
do
and then
that.
the stuff with the
They
kid.
do
Like
it
I don't
just
think
to
you
show
can get
how
away
tough
with that
she
stuff
is.
with the
Yeah,
kid.
right.
I mean-
I think. All right, so I'm not saying Gina Davis crushed this. She did not.
No.
But I think it's cool that she went for it.
She tried.
She
Yeah.
tried.
Yeah.
This
try
goes
to
back to
reinvent herself.
range. This is the range discussion.
Okay, so all right, so, yeah, because I don't think she pulled off. There's a scene specifically where her daughter falls on the ice,
Yeah.
and it is so hard
it
to
up.
take.
Yes.
It is like
Suck it up. And
it's
then,
like-
and then the callback to it at the end.
right, and then it's just like, oh god,
Yeah, oh,
like
God.
it is very rough.
That is probably the worst part about Gina Davis trying to do an action type is because she can't be threatening. I don't
Yes.
think.
so.
That
I
was
also
tough.
I also made a note that said.
She should have just said, "There's no crying in baseball."
Exactly.
I said lines are delivered like Rodney Dangerfield jokes. Half expected him to have a writing credit at the end.
Right.
They are again. It's almost like not even vulgar, but
So it's kind of wild. Out of nowhere, the stakes just go
Yeah.
to a crazy level for the sake of let's just make this movie
it's like
crazy.
they put a Mission Impossible
it
plot at the very
literally
end
goes
of this.
from like
Sure.
like a little Tom Clancy story to Ethan Hunt like
Big set pieces. The
Yeah,
the mill wheel in particular, and one scene that really bothered me about, or one part of that scene where she's tied to the mill wheel. That's hard to say.
the torture scene.
Yeah, and she's dunked under ice cold water, yet no one's breath is being shown as they're in ice cold weather.
There is some moments where that I noticed
didn't
it too.
see it, man.
Like when she's skating, which is so
Well, no,
stupid.
that's a different scene though.
Right, but
yeah.
it is. They do a pretty good job. It's just that one in particular is not
Skating.
done well.
later. Oh,
You've
Don't
never
re-
seen.
God.
You
don't
never
remind
would have
us.
thought.
Oh my
Never would
gosh.
have thought that you could
Oh
chase
my
down
gosh.
two fleeing vehicles on ice skates.
Civvies catching strays in this movie, left
Oh,
and
yeah.
right.
The-
Not
the
a thing that
collateral-
they would do.
the collateral damage.
collateral damage in this movie.
Everything in that
Definitely-
terminal.
Like, so while they would make this movie, there's no way they let that.
Oh, I
many
got a
stray
big. I
bullets
got a big
fly.
one at the after
All right.
this.
Brian Cox is showing up though.
Yeah.
Loved that. I thought the train station sequence is fun. Her machine gunning through the ice is fun.
Man, it took forever for that grenade to go off.
That
though.
grenade takes for an eternity to go off. All right, so this is a question I think for you, Brian, or a little more geared towards you anyway, is like, could you be a fan of both Julia Roberts and Gina Davis? Because I kind of feel like they are the same.
Oh, I don't.
Did
You
they
don't think
have,
that-
Do you
No,
think
I
she
don't.
ever had like that level of prestige? I don't think that she did.
For me,
Gina Davis?
Yeah.
I think she did.
Really?
Yeah. So one of the movies that I was gonna just lightly discuss, or just not even discuss, but touch upon, is The Accidental Tourist. You guys probably haven't seen it.
no clue. Yeah.
William Hurt. I think she got an Oscar nod. I'm not positive on that. Really good. It showed Gina Davis in her range, and that's what we will discuss.
Okay.
I don't want to get into specifics, but really good dramatic role for her, meaty role with a kid, in her wheelhouse. Let's just say that, right?
Okay.
So do you think that she has a range
She
that she
has
should
a
get
range.
into
The potential
and
is
stay
there.
And
in?
this movie showed that she was outside of her range, right?
Okay.
Are you finished? Because
My last two notes were, oh, dang, this is like a subtle 9/11 prequel.
Oh man, you took it.
I-
That's what I was like. Did they just predict 9/11?
This is a bit of a 9/11 thing, as far as, especially if you fall into the 9/11 conspiracy theories. Like,
Yeah, this in '96 they referenced the first
they
Trade
talk
Center
about
bombing.
the first Trade Center bombing,
And then they're like,
as a motivator to funding
To
the
funding.
bureaucracy that
to
occurs.
funding the FBI or the CIA.
Because
I
there's
think.
people who essentially think, well, 9/11
Sure,
was
yeah.
just a thing, just to
right.
So them blowing up, I assume it wasn't just blowing up Niagara Falls. I think they were supposed to take it into that town and blow it up.
well, they were gonna wipe out a bunch of people.
Right, it was
Yeah.
like 4,000
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
people or something. I think they said.
It got away from this movie. Definitely gets very far away from its Christmas themes.
it does.
And then the last
but
note
it is there.
Oh, sure, at the beginning. Well, it's
no,
there at
it's
the beginning.
there.
Definitely.
No, when she goes back to
Well,
look for the bear, she's
Sure.
tier 1, I assume, right?
Well, I don't think this is tier 1.
No, tier 1 would be like it's Christmas all the time and it's a
Oh,
part
tier
of the plot.
3. Sorry, I went the wrong
Tier
direction.
So
3
do
might
you
be
think-
set dressing. Yes.
So is
I
this
think
tier
it's
3
tier
or tier
3.
2?
I think it's tier 3.
Well, it's happening and
it's happening.
yeah, but it's not like a part of the plot. It
it's
just
not-
comes up occasionally.
Yeah, it's not an important factor in this movie whatsoever, is it?
Other than the beginning, she's on the float, right? She's in
yeah,
the parade,
she could have
and
been
that's
at,
how people
yeah,
recognize
she could have
Well,
been
her.
at a July the 4th parade.
Okay, well, that's cool,
the
because
little
again,
girl,
I
she's
think that
been
was the goal of
participating
what
and
we were
stuff.
shooting for here is
Yeah.
tier 3. So catch me if you
Tier
can,
3.
tier 2.
Yes.
This movie, Long Kiss Goodnight, tier 3.
Yep.
And we're not wrapping up here. And then, obviously, like we said, it was the daughter on the bridge at the end.
So
I
there's
didn't even get that far.
terrible stuff that happens
Oh,
on
it's
that
so
bridge.
bad.
The guy
It's
who's on fire,
very
that is,
rough.
she's picking up a machine gun that's obviously
Oh
not
my
on
gosh,
fire and
yeah.
is not going to burn her hand or anything.
There's a
and
hanging, flaming corpse, essentially,
And then-
holding a machine gun, and she just reaches and grabs that thing like it's no big
No,
deal. like,
not just
whoop.
that, but she pulleys herself up on Christmas lights.
Yes.
Christmas lights that are going straight up, so the
Tier
dead
2?
body
No.
goes down, and she grabs it and fires at the guy in the helicopter
Oh my
and kill that
lordy
guy.
Lord.
Okay, this is what I got at the end. At the end, I've got most unsecure border ever. Because it is the Canadian border and no one is manning this border. I don't know if it's Christmas Day or the fact that they're like, there's just, that's Canada and there's this big semi truck that's going to blow up and it's
no
like,
one's
no
watching.
one's around except all these agents that are wanting it to happen, I guess. And then at the very end, Sam Jackson takes a car that was supposed to be the scapegoat car. Because
Okay.
it's got the fake terrorists
Right.
inside of it, whose body just goes flying out the car door.
Oh, yeah.
So he comes out of this box truck in this like sedan and comes barreling down to come save him before the truck blows up. And then they get in, he does like a one-liner, and they're driving away. And as this big crazy explosion happens at the border, all these cars that came from nowhere, they're flaming cars that are just dropping in front of them and he has to avoid. And the little girl turns to Sam Jackson as she's sitting there and she's like, "Look out for the cars." And Sam Jackson turns to her and gives her just this like despising look and then just goes back to driving. It's the weirdest. It's so weird. It's so weird. And then as it sums up at the very, very end, it's she just gets a random call from the president.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you for your service. Well, I'm living out in the fields now.
Yeah, she's collected all this
I'm
money from her
retiring on a
assassin
farm.
jobs.
She Thanoses it.
Yeah, she
Absolutely.
Thanos it. Why does she go back to that guy? It's the guy. She doesn't even remember.
Because she decides to love her daughter.
Does her other
and love that life.
Does her other personality even exist anymore?
Yeah, they're still working through it.
But why does she?
She does the other thing at the farm. At the end, she throws
But you don't see
knife or
there's-
something.
It's not
I don't
split
know.
personality at that point. The other one, her original personality, kind of takes over. She keeps saying that Sam. She's gone. She's blah blah blah. But you never see her be motherly again, other than she just cares about the girl all of a sudden.
Motherly. It's there. That's I mean,
I don't know.
All right. Well,
I don't know.
do you
But
have
here's my other
Yeah,
last
fire
thing.
away. Yeah,
This is my other
please.
last thing. not the movie as a whole, but as a story, this could basically be another version of Kill Bill 2.
I get what you're saying there.
Yeah, interesting.
Like, it could have just picked up at the beginning of this with Uma Thurman basically just kind of having amnesia, sort of. But, like, at the end of Kill Bill 1, where we assume, like, oh, she's going to get her revenge and stuff, before you even know the daughter is alive or anything like that. Like, this could have picked up that way.
Well, you know the daughter's alive at the end. That's how the first movie ends.
No, she gets told that she's alive. Okay,
well,
all right.
She doesn't get told. Sophie is told. Bill tells Sophie.
When she knows because she's got Sophie, she takes her arm off.
She's maimed Sophie and says, I'm only letting you live so you can tell Bill all of these things. You look like a guy who hasn't watched Kill Bill in a while.
It's been a while.
You should rewatch Kill Bill, man. They are
Volume
good.
2 is not as good as 1.
I think they're both.
Honestly, I can't remember.
A lot of it
I
is
encourage you to rewatch them.
I love the movies.
I watched them again recently.
Okay.
Me and Jordan watched them, and it was like, we had a great time.
It's all dealing with Michael Madsen.
Yeah.
And a lot of Michael Madsen at the beginning.
Oh, that's the desert.
That's where she's in the
trailer.
desert and stuff.
Yeah.
It kind of just spins its wheels until they get to the Bill stuff. There's
man, I like that.
Oh, I disagree, man.
It sounds like our discussion about Return of the Jedi.
Seeing how low Bud lives a life, just getting crapped on at that club and
so
everything.
You know more and feel worse about his character than any of the people she killed in the first one?
Well, he's the only one that's sympathetic to the bride. Like,
it's fun.
Is he?
Yeah, he says.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, he definitely
After
says
the fact.
you did her. He says you did her wrong.
After the fact.
But I've got to stand by my brother. Like, oh no, he has remorse of what he's done.
Scenes, yeah.
All right.
Okay, but that was kind of my observation. I was like, there's some similarities here.
I
think
wouldn't have connected that dot, but it could have been.
Yeah.
She loaded up with the kid, and Bill chased her down. This would basically be that movie, I think, to an extent. And then the other thing was the peon lackey bad guy that is kind of like smarmy, but also kind of a dick the whole time.
The guy with the knife?
Yeah, the guy with the knife. I'm like, is this like Ryan Reynolds before Ryan Reynolds? Because who is this guy?
Right,
I've never seen him in anything
like
else.
Yeah. I didn't quite get that guy's point, but yeah. Okay, so I just want to talk quickly about one. I think if you look back at her career, Gina Davis, Tootsie, Fletch, The Fly, Beetlejuice, Accidental Tourist, which I mentioned, Quick Change. I don't know if you guys have seen Quick Change. Bill Murray's his first directorial debut.
Wow.
It's a funny movie.
Is he in it?
It was a huge flop. He is in it.
Okay.
Which is the reason why you should see it. It has one of the funniest scenes. I won't ruin it.
Okay.
You have to see it. I won't ruin it, because if I tell you, it will ruin it.
Yeah.
Good. My point is,
she's the lead
she
in
is
it,
the love interest to Bill Murray.
Okay.
Funny movie. It's not amazing, but it's a good movie.
And
it got overlooked. Critics hated it. Huge flop. Then she did Thelma and Louise. We all know what happened with that.
Sure.
League of Their Own.
The biggest movie. Yeah,
Ties
League
in
of Her Own.
Kevin Bacon.
It took her to a new level, right? These movies took her to superstardom, essentially. And then we
devolves from there.
And we talk. I want to touch on range. This movie was so far outside of her range, I almost lost respect for her as an actress. I'd never seen her try a role like this, and it was shocking. It almost a little piece of my heart died when I saw this movie.
Man. You were Team Gina Davis before,
dude.
and now suddenly
huge
you're
fan.
like, oh man, yeah.
Because I guess she didn't realize, or maybe, like you said,
I
maybe
think
she
went
tried.
for it.
Yeah,
I think
maybe
she was
wanted
like,
to try
stretch.
something new.
I want to see if I could.
I mean, after doing so many drama roles and so many, like, Beetlejuice is the only thing that probably is a little outside of just normal everyday drama. But
so yeah, I mean, Tootsie, she was like a bumbling kind of sidekick. Beetlejuice, we know what she was in that. Accidental Tourist, like I said, was her big dramatic turn. Like I said, I could be wrong, but I think she was nominated for that movie. Thelma Louise, phenomenal, like her big moment. And League of Her Own,
those are just normal people,
right? These are all within a certain range, right? We're not an action star. We're a female in our 30s,
It's
right?
in her box.
Yeah, it's all in the wheelhouse,
Yeah.
right? But this movie took her way outside of that. it almost hurt my like retrospective of her career. It almost physically pained me because I did have a lot of respect for her.
I don't think so. I think that
I'm saying for me.
Everyone takes a chance. Most actors take a chance on stuff.
And you should be judged for that if you fail.
I think you're okay to have that.
Charlize Theron.
It just depends on, do you respect the swing if it's a miss?
Charlize Theron.
And you're saying no.
I think you should recognize what you do well. If I go to work and I don't perform up to standards, my review will reflect on that, right? I think we all need consequences.
Think of how many times our jobs ask us to do things that are not in our wheelhouse, though.
And we perform or we don't.
We perform and we do as
Shouldn't
best
they
as
be
we
held to
can.
the same standard, though?
Normal 9-to-5s versus
What's
she chose this. She chose to do this role.
She chose to do it, and she was paid heftily. I'm
and a
assuming.
studio probably said, "Hey, man, that'll help."
Sure.
Well, they doubled down on her popularity at the time too, because if they thought she was going to be able to second bill this, then
okay. So she did a string of movies: Angie, which I'd never seen before, Speechless, Cutthroat Island, The Long Kiss Goodnight. Okay, so Speechless,
Cutthroat Island, the one with is that
Matthew Modine?
Matthew Modine. Okay.
So Speechless, Cutthroat Island, this movie, The Long Kiss Goodnight, were all directed by her husband, Rennie Harlan.
Wow. Okay.
One could argue that her own husband killed her career. So after Long Kiss Goodnight, movie roles dried up.
Yeah.
She had to go to voice acting. Well, not voice acting, but essentially back to Stuart Little?
Yeah, Stuart Little. She went back to the family fare.
Right.
Kind of her wheelhouse, as you say.
This could coincide with her turning 40, I think, during that time. As we all know, roles kind of dry up for women in their 40s.
She wasn't a sex symbol, or potentially.
You could argue if she ever really was a sex symbol. Earth
guess
Girls
not
Are
that.
Easy. I don't know if you guys have seen that.
No,
she's pretty hot in that.
Yeah.
But other than, like Thelma and Louise, was she really playing that kind of role? I don't know.
I always just saw her, especially she was like the mom figure.
Yeah.
Like the ones that are most prevalent to me are A League of Their Own and Beetlejuice, and that's just how she was. She was like the frumpy kind of like housewife.
I think frumpy's a harsh word.
She says frumpy in this movie.
At times.
I understand that.
Yeah, I don't I think of her in The Fly. She's cute in The Fly. I mean, I wouldn't say sexy.
I don't think of Gina Davis to this extent.
Well, I guess that's the comparison doing her between her and Julia Roberts. Like they are kind of the same, but neither is like.
But that's
a sex
why I
symbol,
brought that up
guess.
earlier, because in my mind, they occupy the same space, and that's why I was wondering.
Trent has a point, though. Could she have done the movie where she Pretty Woman? Could Gina
I think she could have
Davis
done
have pulled that off?
Yeah.
Well, okay, are they interchangeable? Who could have done this and been better
I
if
feel
it
like
wasn't
Julia
Jane
Roberts
Davis?
may have done a
Of
little
the
better
time,
in this role.
96,
Maybe.
In this era, in this time frame, who
Aaron
could you
Brockovich.
have gotten?
Well, I'm just saying, like, she's a little
No,
more
I
hard
don't
edge.
think-
That's
She
a
shows
tough
a little
question.
more hard edge range in
well-
that movie, which would have lent a little
Maybe that's the point
better
of,
into this movie.
Well,
this-
that's what ruined me for this movie. She could not.
She can't do that.
Can't
Well, but
do
that- maybe that
It's
was the
That's
outside
what I'm
of
saying.
her
Julia
range.
Roberts might be able to do that.
Because
a
the
little
public
better.
perception was like, here's Gina Davis. You've seen her doing all these things.
Now-
she is just the
Right.
casual mom, and then she's action star and stuff.
Sure.
Could you have done that with Julia Roberts?
I don't know,
That's.
but
I'm
what-
genuinely trying to think of someone of the era. Kim Basinger.
I don't care. I mean, to me, alternate casting. I don't think alternate casting. Look,
Sharon Stone could have done it.
maybe yeah.
But I don't think it saves the movie.
No, the movie
But
had
that's-
some definite
so
problems.
to me, like
Sure.
you could put anybody you want in there. It will make it a little better.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really suddenly like propel it from like a.
Oh no, this would never have been anything more than it is. This is a action movie through and through. It's a throwaway action. This
All
is
right.
the stuff that you'd
I
find
guess-
on
Right, yeah,
Pluto.
My question is, what were her Thanksgivings like after these 3 movies with her husband?
with her husband?
Like what were their the pillow talk discussions
I'd
like?
say the equivalent of like Mila Jovovich and her husband, who did
I mean-
all the Resident
Wiseman.
Evils and everything.
Cutthroat Island was notoriously one of the biggest Hollywood bombs
Yeah.
of all time. They still talk about it.
Do you
right?
remember marketing for it? Were they trying
No,
to hype
I don't
it like it was a
remember the
big
movie.
thing?
I've never
No?
seen it, but I know
I
that
saw-
it
I
lost
remember-
over $200 million.
Oh wow. 'Cause it
So
was
in a
just so
time
big.
where budgets weren't really
you
that
say
big.
that, but again, maybe she's thankful because she just wanted to give this a shot.
Not from the interviews I've
Oh,
heard.
really?
Wow, really?
Oh.
Because she
Boy, you've done some
mentioned
Gina Davis
know-
homework.
well, really, I
loves her
just
that
watched
much.
one
I
YouTube
crushed the
video.
tea.
No.
Entire like perception on this.
I will say I
had to
was
feel better about it.
intrigued by the when I
The
looked at the
dynamic there.
Wikipedia and I saw her husband's name on these 3 movies. I'm like, this can't be a coincidence.
Are they still married? Did you see?
That I don't know.
Ooh.
And
Buddy.
why didn't I look that up? But isn't that intriguing that her own husband essentially shot her in the foot and killed her career?
I mean, but like if you're talking about her early stuff where he wasn't involved, maybe
Right.
it was just easier, or maybe she genuinely thought like.
Well,
you'd have
maybe
to
he
look at this
wasn't
guy's
directing at that
credentials.
time.
Yeah,
Maybe this
who
was
knows
his
what else
only
he
way
did.
to get a movie made.
He
Maybe
banked
the
on
studio,
her.
maybe the studio
That's a
was
good
like,
point.
if your wife signs on to this,
That's a
you
good
do
point.
this.
maybe
That's a good point.
Maybe that's it.
It could have been what it was. So I don't know.
I just
don't
find
know,
it.
man.
Anyone out there
I
with
just
more
find
Gina
it-
Davis knowledge
I
than
just
us,
think it's super interesting
That's pretty interesting. Yeah.
that her own husband, because she mentioned
I
that.
mean, I don't think he set out. Nobody sets out
No,
to make a bad.
I'm not
movie,
saying
man,
that.
right?
I'm just
Like,
saying that. What were those discussions
Sure,
like?
how
I
were those
disagree.
things
Three
When we
flops.
get to the next
Okay.
one, I have something
3
for this.
flops in a row, and it essentially set her back to square one where she's playing moms.
So
you know,
Okay.
just looking at this guy's credentials real quick, he did Nightmare on Elm Street 4.
oof,
He did The Adventures of Ford Fairlane, Die Hard 2.
that was a huge flop. That had Andrew Dice Clay.
Okay.
He did Cliffhanger,
That
and
was a
then-
success.
and then we
Yeah.
get into Cutthroat Island and the other one.
Cliffhanger was huge.
Cliffhanger was
Stallone-
huge. Yeah.
But it
was
was
huge.
It was huge because Stallone.
It was huge because of Stallone. Yeah.
Holy crap! He did Deep Blue Sea.
Sam Jackson
I don't know
coming
that
back around.
Sharks.
Never
Hello,
seen
Cool
that.
J.
Trying to solve.
Super
I
smart
think I know what
sharks
you're talking
in a
about.
lab.
I'm so
Hey,
glad
this
I
goes
didn't
back
see that.
to our Adams, or not our Adams family, our movies that have songs tied to them. Because LL Cool J did a song for Deep Blue Sea.
He did.
It all
This is
comes
very
back
true.
around.
Oof. Well,
All right,
I
my
just
whole-
wanted to discuss.
Poor and bad
My
and
whole point-
awkward.
The movie, sure,
That's how
sure.
those
Oh, wow.
conversations
Dude,
probably
Ryan,
went at
right,
Thanksgiving.
You need to look at this guy's stuff. He did Exorcist: The Beginning. He did The Covenant. There's a lot of stuff on here that you'd be surprised
Is
at.
he
I
still
think.
directing?
I mean, all the way up to he's got TBA stuff. So yes,
What?
he did The Strangers. Yeah.
Okay,
there's
so
a
he's
bunch.
had hit and misses, right?
It seems like.
Okay.
Cliffhanger was huge. I remember
Yeah.
that. I saw that in the theater, surprisingly enough. And was The Strangers? Do you think that was a
Was it the
successful
original
movie?
Strangers?
Well, it says chapter 1, so I assume.
Oh, that's
Oh,
the
that's
prequel that
full-
just came out.
Right. And I don't
Yeah, you're
remember
right.
that.
Yeah, it
being-
just came out this year.
I don't know.
I've heard rough things about it.
Well, I didn't know that they were labeled them by chapters.
So is he getting work because of Gina Davis? I don't
mean,
know,
she
man.
We still
This
don't know
whole-
if they're married.
This whole thing is cyclical, right? We still don't know if they're still married. I
All
don't
right,
know.
so look, well,
It says married 93, divorced 98.
there you go.
wow,
right
so they
after the
split
flops.
Right after. Oh my
That
gosh.
explains a lot, man.
There
oh,
you go. There's your catharsis.
That's great. That pretty much seals it for me.
Nevertheless,
Thank you.
I thought
Resolution.
that there you go. I made you feel. I brought you down low, and now I made you feel better again. My whole point was that I thought it because of the pedigree, the themology that Shane Black has in his movies, it would have been, and it was caused a cool conversation. I think.
Sure, yeah. Any good movie or any
Tier
movie
3
is worth
Christmas.
discussing.
Tier 3 Christmas.
I say
Definitely
I
tier
would
3.
I can't say I'd recommend this unless it was purely based on like if you're looking for a 90s
It is-
90 movie,
you
right? Like
could-
if you're looking for if someone says what's a 90s movie? Like
It's very 90s.
I would be like this is a 90s
could
movie.
pair it with,
Outside
like,
of that though,
Point
I
Break.
can't
Yeah,
really
I can't
recommend
recommend
it
it.
for much of anything.
Anything else that would have been, anything that starred Bruce Willis
It's not
at the time,
speed.
or
Like it's it's a lesser it's not in the highest tier of 90s
Sure.
movies, but it's certainly a movie that you're like, yeah, I get it.
Boy, saying that.
This was a blockbuster. Like this would be something in a blockbuster video.
Yeah.
I could see it had its big weekend there. I'm sure, and
Yeah.
then that would be it. and then it should have faded into obscurity and
it
not
sure
been
did.
brought up for a podcast
it
to bring
was
us all a
different.
new round of misery.
It made Brian have a crisis of faith for Gina
It
Davis.
did, man.
So
It set me back.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Oh, goodness.
Okay. well.
Maybe she'll redeem herself at
Let's
some point.
go on to something
All
that's
right.
a lot more enjoyable and more interesting to talk about.
Boy,
Maybe.
this is
Maybe.
going to be an interesting conversation. Holy smokes. There is no way you're getting away with that one. Am I right? I mean, come on. Am I right? Bet you didn't think you were going to get that much Gina Davis in your life. But yet, here we are on the other side of it. So that's all we have for episode 2 of Sleeper Cell Santa Flicks. What did you think of that one? Let me know. As always, you can find me everywhere by searching Stubbs with Jason on all the social medias, or by dropping me a line at the Stubbs line at stubbswithjason@gmail.com. Be sure to join us next time. You'll not regret it. Stubbs. All done.